I'm going to need another one of those.
As the advert says, Boddington's the pride of Manchester. Welcome to Manchester.
Thank you.
We only have half an hour with our guests. There's a lot of you here. I know that you've got questions. So I'll kick it off with a couple of questions to Jason, and then it will come to you. If you have questions, we have Ben running with the mic. So don't be shy. Don't be shy. You all right now? You full?
I'm good.
It's well known that when you were offered the role, offered the movie, you turned it down not once but several times. So what was in it eventually that made you want to accept, and what did you think that you could bring to the movie?
Well, at the time, the original movie, the movie that you see, the script was not really what it was. It was just a sort of kid vampire movie. So the director, Joel, at the time I was 19 years old, I think. He gave me a lot of influence. Yeah, I remember. And that it would have a lot of input in how the movie was made, and then Kiefer came on, and they brought in Diane Wiest and all these great people. And he said I wouldn't have to wear vampire teeth or makeup, which he lied about, of course. And then I decided to do it.
And there's been talk over the years about this tremendous ensemble. Nobody's grandstanding in the movie. You're all as equal as each other and all feeding off each other. Was that something that you were aware of that you were going into when you accepted the part, or did that emerge and evolve while you were making the movie?
I think that's back on the director, Joel Schumacher. He let all the actors sort of have a lot of input on their characters. And if you're really playing your character, you're going to relate to the other people. And it was always about what was in front of you, what the scene was about.
And did you know the people that you were working with before you went into the movie, or did those relationships happen on the film?
I knew Jamie because I had worked with her, and I was doing a play with her at the time, so I actually brought her in to read for Joel. Yeah, but I didn't know anybody else.
The film, when it was released, certainly in the UK, was acclaimed as an instant classic. It was highly original. It wasn't a standard vampire movie. It wasn't a standard romance. It wasn't a standard horror. It wasn't a standard coming-of-age film, and yet all of those things fit into it. What did you think when you were making it? Was it just a job, or was there something special going on with the vibe of the film?
Well, I mean, I think that everyone knew they were making something good. I don't think there was any question about that. But I don't think anyone could have assumed that it would become so much a part of people's childhoods and lives and their kids. Because when it came out in America, it was a hit, but it was a modest hit. Where it became huge was on VHS. And I'm sure you all had your VHSs, and that's where it became really big. And I think since people watched it again and again and again, it became part of their lives in that way.
Why do you think it took off on the small screen within the intimacy of a living room as opposed to in a cinema?
Well, I don't think it was promoted well, and in a lot of ways, like you said, what was it? You know, it's the best coming-of-age vampire beach movie ever made, you know? It was hard to characterize. Now, today, if it came out, it would come out in 5,000 screens and make $1 billion. But at that time, it just was a word-of-mouth thing, which I actually think is better because in a way people find it on their own and it means more to them as opposed to being part of some hype, like, you know, all the Marvel movies and all that garbage.
I agree with you and Martin Scorsese. There's something I want to ask all of you when you're up here for the reunion Q&A in about an hour or so. But there is humor in the film, and there's a great deal of laughter. But you guys play it straight. You don't play it for giggles. And I wonder whether that's something that you decided, whether that was in the script, or whether that was something that was imposed upon you by Joel.
No, if you're trying to be funny, you rarely are, you know, unless you're in an outrageous comedy. And I think that we all wanted to play things without winking at the audience. You know, we wanted to play it as realistic as possible. I mean, as I said, I was 19 at the time, but I use the same analogy as if you got in with the wrong crowd and you were doing drugs. I mean, when Kiefer gives me that blood to drink, you don't play vampire. I mean, he becomes addicted to something. Becomes addicted to the fun, to the excitement, to the sex, all that stuff. And so if you play it that way, in that kind of realism, then I think all the other stuff just adds intensity.
Okay, if you have a question, Ben has a mic here. There are lots of questions. Okay, I'll shut up and you can ask the questions.
Hello.
I absolutely fluffed it when I went for my picture. I couldn't even say hello. Hello. You're in some of my absolute favourite films and shows, Sleepers, Lost Boys, Wayward Pines. When are you going to do something else, because we need it? And if I divorce my husband, will you marry me?
Yes, I will. We can have the honeymoon tonight anyway. You know, I have a couple interesting things in the new year that I think I'm going to be doing. But for me, I've sort of taken an unconventional career path, and have done different things and taken lots of time off. So I just have to find something that I'm interested in doing, that you want to express at a certain part in your life. Otherwise, it's very boring to make movies. But if you can find people that you want to work with, and you're at a certain age and you say, yeah, I think I could say something with that. And that's what I always like to do, because you don't know how long life lasts. So I want those moments to matter. And that's why it's interesting to come back and see some of the guys, because, I mean, Jameson and Chance, I have not seen them in over 30 years. So to come in, but because that movie was such an experience for us that's indelible, you know, you just don't want to waste 3 months somewhere. You try to make those movies or those projects part of your life in a way. So we'll see. I'll try to find something.
Who's next? Yes, hello. Do you want me to hold it?
Yeah. Hi. So we know you played a good guy in The Lost Boys, but did you prefer being good guy, or would you like to have been part of The Lost Boys forever?
You played a good guy in The Lost Boys. Would you have preferred to have played a bad guy and been one of the Lost Boys forever?
Well, I think that would disappoint a lot of people. I think Kiefer and the other guys did fine, you know, with all that. I was the uncool guy in the movie. I had jeans and a T-shirt. They had the cool bikes. They had the cool clothes and all that. You know, people talk about playing bad guys. It can be fun. But sometimes I think it's harder to play the good guy and play him with some interest or some depth, because it's easy to get off on playing bad guys, and I played lots of them for sure. But you know, just things happen the way they're supposed to happen, I think.
Hello. You played the great bad guy in The Losers, by the way, just before I pass over to the question. And it was a really good film.
Would you like to make a Lost Boys 2?
Would you like to make a Lost Boys 2?
Absolutely not. No.
Good. Hello.
Hi there. So this film was a huge coming-of-age story for me, growing up, watching it with my older siblings and feeling very much part of that age and that vibe when you're that young. You guys were all quite young as well, or you feel young when you're watching it. Was there any moment during those filmings when you were all together, that kind of camaraderie that, you know, reflected really well from real life as well as in film? I've absolutely cocked this question, but I'm trying. I got freaked out. But yeah, was there anything that translated in real life and during filming that you think came through?
Yeah, someone had asked me at the table my relationship with Corey Haim when we were filming the movie. And Joel, the director, wanted us to spend a lot of time together. The relationship in the original script, once again, wasn't really defined. So I spent a lot of time with Corey. And I was, as I said, 19, turning 20, and he was 14 at that supreme, annoying age. And we did spend a lot of time together. And during the film, I think that relationship not only added to a lot of what you see, a lot of the physical stuff just happened between us, a lot of the dialogue just came between us. And during the 4 months, the nature of that relationship remained as well, because I was sort of like his big brother. And when he'd get out of line, I'd put him back in line, or if he was messing around, or if he wasn't on time to the set, all those things, that happened. So, you know, that aspect of life definitely played itself into the movie. You're welcome.
Hello. Hello. I was actually going to ask about the relationship with Corey, so I'm going to ask another question. The love scene, how realistic is the love scene in it?
With Corey and myself? It's totally fake. How realistic was it?
Just there's rumors that it was actually happening. No?
Jamie Gertz was actually there, yes. My mouth was on her mouth. Yeah, it was, I remember that the way they shot it, I think, that Joel wanted her to, or me to take her top off, but she didn't want to be exposed, so the way I had to synchronize when the camera moved around us, that my hands would sort of cover her. And we did that several times, and I'm sure I messed up a few times to make sure we could do it several more times as well with that. So, yeah.
Over here, excluding the love scene that you were just talking about, which scene did you have the most problems filming, or the hardest to film?
I don't know it was the hardest, but the scene where we're hanging from the trestles, that was a very long night, and it was a lot of work. And that last scene where Kiefer and I are battling in the air like Godzilla, back then there was no CGI, so all that stuff was real. And so we were on wires, and they developed this sort of lazy Susan that spun in the air that the camera was above. So that stuff was very, very physical. So I'd say that stuff was the hardest physically. Yeah.
How much of the film was shot at night? And did that give you any extra challenges as actors?
Yeah, but I mean, you're 19 or 20, you want to be around, you want to be up at night. So, but probably about 3 or 4 weeks of nights, yeah, up in Santa Cruz, yeah.
Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Did you ever go to the Exorcist set?
Did I go? Yeah, I went when I was 7 years old, yeah. I remember specifically going to visit my dad and getting a Coke in a big bin with ice, and turning around, and there was Linda Blair, full makeup in the nightgown. And we were too young for it to be explained what the movie was about. But I remember it being very scary because of all the cuts on her face. I remember that specifically. And funny enough, about a year ago, I ran into Linda Blair at one of these things, and I mentioned that story to her about that. And we went home that night, and we slept together. So.
You're a legend, Jason. I love you.
I can't hear you.
Has anybody else got any more questions? Can anyone see me? I am coming.
While you're walking, I'll
Sorry.
do some more talking.
Yes.
The sequence with the bridge, I'm assuming was a set, a construct, obviously it wasn't a real bridge. Can you tell us something about the mechanics of shooting that, the choreography of shooting it?
Well, there was a real bridge that we walk on, and there actually was, we actually were holding underneath that bridge, and we were harnessed in. And then there was a set from which we dropped. And they filled a room, not this big, but maybe half this big, completely with smoke. So when we dropped through, it looked like we went in the clouds. And the camera was here, and we would be standing here, and the camera went in, so it appeared that we were going down, but it was just an optical trick. I mean, that's the thing when they made movies back then, or even in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, people had to become very inventive with these effects because, of course, there weren't computers. So you'd find ways to make these things work. And just like the guy mentioned, The Exorcist, all that stuff is done on set. And it's more interesting, it's harder to do, and it's more effective than, I think, the CGI, which we're just, infected with today in movies.
Okay, yes, yep.
Hi. It's obvious there was an influence of Jim Morrison in the movie. Do you feel like he was portraying his character a little? I mean, you had the scene with the drinking of blood, and Jim Morrison drank blood with Patricia Keneally, and then the noodles and the worms, obviously the whole psychedelic thing. Did you feel the influence of Jim Morrison at all?
I was hired in the movie, and they built that cave scene. They built that whole cave in less than a week. And I remember when we showed up to film, there was the big poster of Jim. So I'd already been working for a while, so none of that was really in my mind. But at the time, in '86, the Doors book had come out a couple years before, so that whole sort of mysticism and romanticism and sexiness of Jim Morrison was very big for kids like me who actually weren't really around to hear his music. So that aura, once again, that's Joel Schumacher playing into different generations and different musical themes. So it connected in a way that was much bigger than, a Goonie vampire movie.
Hi. I just wanted to ask what it was like when you worked with, people talk about not working with animals. What was Nanook like to work with?
Oh, working with the dog? The dog was a great, great dog. I think there were two of them, but the main dog was just a sweet, sweet, sweet dog and really good. And I remember the scene where I come in and I'm going to possibly kill Corey in the bathtub. So they shot him that way. Then they shot Nanook. And then they were going to have a stunt man. They go to the door and they built a ramp so that the dog could jump up and, grab and then knock him down. And then it just didn't work. The stunt guy looked like me, but not enough. And they asked me if I would do it. And I said, well, yeah, it's just a dog, right? So, you stood there, and I remember, action, roll. This dog launched, and, he was at least 80 or 90 pounds, and I just remember hugging him and grabbing and boom, going down on the other side. So we got that in one take.
Okay, yeah.
I've watched the film for years and years, over and over again. Do you know the scene when you're on the bikes, the Lost in the Shadows scene, when you go down the steps at the beginning? Obviously, you look a bit scared before you go down the steps. Did you actually feel like that, really, when you were filming it, or...?
And did you actually drive down the steps?
Yeah.
And did you actually ride the bike, she says?
I had ridden a motorcycle maybe 3 or 4 times before that, only to learn for the movie. So I wasn't a rider. All the other guys are a rider. So when we pulled up to that shot, that look was real. And then cut, stuntman.
Just before we carry on, just before we do you, how many more questions have we got from people? There's a young lad at the front. Hang on, whoa.
We've got like 8 minutes.
Fine, we'll do as many as we can.
Hi, Jason. Of all the roles you've done in Speed and Sleepers and obviously Lost Boys and that, what's been the best role that you've ever played?
I don't know. They're all part of a time of your life at a certain age, and then you move on from it. So I would say that this role, even though I played it very young, the ultimate experience of it and the largeness that it's had in people's lives certainly connects me to it. I think I played other roles that maybe were more, definitely more challenging and more interesting as I got older. I don't know. I don't judge them when I start them, and I certainly don't afterwards. I'm just happy that I think I made a handful that'll last, and I'm all right with that.
We've got a young boy in the front here.
It's not a question, but I just love the film.
God bless you, young man.
Hello. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
So, The Lost Boys has got so many iconic, I guess, moments like Death in Stereo, various slogans and pieces from the film, which is just amazing. What's your favourite line in the movie?
I don't think I have any of the good lines, do I? I like when, well, I don't know about like, but I thought it was kind of chilling and interesting. You know, one of the things about that movie, it's a vampire movie, but if you, next time you guys watch it, it's literally almost 40 minutes into the movie before you see a vampire. And movies do not have that kind of patience today whatsoever. They throw it out right away. And that build-up and the point of views were really great. So that scene where I'm in the tree, and all those guys they turn into the vampires and they, eat all those skinheads and all that other stuff. And then they come up, I think when Kiefer says, "You're one of us, but you're gonna need to feed," I think that was sort of a chilling line that turned the tone of the movie right away, and I thought he did well.
But acting is as much about reacting as acting, and you would do a lot of reacting because you are the universal man, you are us. And I wonder whether there's always an interplay between actors.
Not always.
There is often interplay between actors. There should be. Were you as aware of that? If you didn't get the cool lines, you were still in there punching.
Once again, like I said, if I always thought of parts as what can I give to the part at this point in my life, not what is this part going to give to me. And so if you're in the moment and you're listening and you're behaving, you connect with the audience because they're listening and watching. And so that was a difficulty of that character, but I thought that if it was done right, it would base and solidify the whole movie.
Hi, Jason, over here.
Yeah, far away.
Hello, over here. The question is, does your son know how big you are, and has he seen the film, and what's the legacy that you're going to leave, and is he going to become an actor?
My son is 9, and I did show it to him, I think, about a year ago, because other people had told him that I was a vampire, and he wondered why that was. So, I told him he loves horror, but he's also a big scaredy cat. And he knows Kiefer very well. Kiefer's sort of like an uncle to him. But we did watch it together. We had to stop it several times. But he really did enjoy it. And I think it was one of the first movies he saw me in, tried to understand the difference. But he loves it very much. I would say that I'm his maybe 4th favorite character in the movie. I didn't even make the medal stand, not even a bronze.
Tell us a little bit about working with Diane Wiest and also with Barnard Hughes, the coolest grandfather in creation. And when I was growing up, a character called Mr. Merlin, and a TV series that we had over here. What can you tell us about Barnard and Diane?
Once again, I think a movie like this lasts this long because of the performances and the people in it. Diane Wiest, at that point, had just done Hannah and Her Sisters and was about to win the first of her 2 Oscars. She couldn't be more lovely. And my relationship with her in the movie was to make a mother-son relationship that as I said, was similar to a mom who's losing her son to something. Bernard Hughes, amazing. I talked to him about doing Hamlet with Richard Burton on Broadway. I mean, they're wonderful memories, wonderful memories.
We'll have to talk about Richard Burton. He's my favorite actor. Right, we're at the very end. We've got one more question left. No pressure. Let's have a good question. It's an epic. I can feel it. Come on.
Okay, this is actually for Jason as well as you guys for putting this on, because this is just... sorry. This is for Jason, obviously, but obviously I wanted to say thanks to the Love of Horror guys as well, because this has just been such an amazing day. Fantastic. And the film made me feel like I wasn't just one of the weird kids, because it was just brilliant. And everybody had a real crush on Corey, but my favourite character was always Michael. So thank you for making me feel 14 again.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
And thank everybody for making it a part of their lives and being very kind and expressing what that meant to them, because that's what movies should be, a communal experience that bring people to other experiences. Yeah.
Okay. We have a tradition of taking a selfie on the stage with our guest, if you'd agree to it. If you want to be in, you need to come closer to the stage, and I'll do my best.